Dumb Husky and his white cat Shizun. Chapter 10. This venerable one goes on his first mission. Fortunately, Chu Wanning didn't seem to hear any of the taunting torture that Mo Ran had acted out himself. He barely managed to make sense of the gibberish he had heard. When he returned to his bedroom, it was already very late, and Mo Ran quickly fell asleep. The next day, he went to morning training as usual. Morning training was definitely not how he would choose to spend his morning though, as it started way too early. After morning training ended, at Mengpo Hall, the place where everyone grabbed breakfast, got more and more crowded. Mo Ran sat across from Shimei. Xuemeng got there late and saw that the seat next to Shimei was taken. With a grimace, he reluctantly sat down next to Mo Ran. If Mo Ran were to pick one of the best aspects about Si Shengpeak, he would definitely say that it's the fact that the sect never cared about fasting. Unlike many of the sect in the upper cultivation world, Si Shengpeak had its own set of cultivation techniques. They didn't abstain from meat and fish and didn't require fasting, so the food in the sect had always been abundant. Mo Ran sipped a cup of spicy and fragrant tea, along with a side of crushed peanuts and chopped vegetables, crispy soybeans, and the crispy pan-fried buns in front of him were specifically for Shimei. Xuemeng squinted at Mo Ran, rather mockingly. Mo Ran, I can't believe you're still standing after leaving Red Lotus Pavilion. I'm impressed. Mo Ran didn't even raise his head. Then you don't really know me at all. Then who are you? Xuemeng snorted. Shizun didn't break your legs. Are you so crazy that you don't know what onion you are? Oh, I'm a scallion, what about you? Xuemeng sneered, I'm Shizun's chief disciple. Did you declare that yourself? Hey, you should go to Shizun to prepare a seal. Get it framed and hang it on the wall for offerings, otherwise, you wouldn't be able to live up to the title of chief disciple. With a snap, Xuemeng broke his chopsticks. Shimei hurriedly tried to settle the argument happening beside him. Stop fighting. Hurry up and eat. Xuemeng, humph. Mo Ran smilingly imitated him, humph. Xuemeng was furious and slammed his hands down on the table. How dare you? Seeing the situation escalating, Shimei tried to calm Xuemeng down. Young master, so many people are watching. Let's eat. Don't argue. These two people were incompatible. Although they are cousins, they always bicker whenever they met each other. After Shimei talked down Xuemeng, he was bitterly caught in the middle to ease the atmosphere, trying to talk to both sides. A moment later, he asked Xuemeng, Young master, when will Madam's cat give birth to her kitten? Xuemeng replied, Oh, you mean Ari? My mother was wrong, it's not pregnant, it just eats too much and looks like it has a big belly. Shimei. After a while, he asked Mo Ran, Ran, do you still have to go work with Shizun today? I don't think so. Everything that needed to get done is done. I'll help you copy the sect rules today. Shimei smiled, Why do you want to help me? You still have to copy them 100 times. Xuemeng raised his eyebrows and looked a little surprised at Shimei. He had never received a punishment before. Why do you have to copy the rules? Shimei looked embarrassed. Before he had time to speak, the buzzing conversation in the dining hall suddenly fell silent. The three of them turned their heads and saw Chu Wanning fluttering into Mengpo Hall in white robes. He walked expressionlessly to the kitchen cabinet and began to grab some dim sum. In a dining hall with 1,000 people inside, when Chu Wanning entered, it went as silent as a cemetery. All the disciples awkwardly played with their food. If any did start to speak, they did it extremely softly. Shimei sighed softly, looking at Chu Wanning holding his tray, sitting in his usual corner, eating congee silently. He couldn't help saying, You know, I think Shizun can be quite pitiful sometimes. Mo Ran's eyebrows shot up, How so? Look, no one goes anywhere near where he's sitting. When he came in, everyone went dead silent. It was okay for them to talk before he showed up, but not once he got here. Doesn't it seem lonely that he doesn't have anyone to talk to? Moran snorted, he's just getting what he asked for. Xuemeng grew angry again, you dare make fun of Shizun. Where was I making fun of him? I was just telling the truth. Moran put another pan-fried bun in front of Shimei. The only thing that wants to stay by his side is his temper. You. Moran playfully looked at Xuemeng with a smile, and sneered, don't believe me? If so, go over and sit with Shizun. Don't sit with us. That one sentence rendered Xuemeng silent. Even though he respected Chu Wanning, he feared him more than anyone. Embarrassed and annoyed but unable to argue, he could only kick the legs of the table with his feet and sulk. A trace of lazy complacency hung on Moran's face. He glanced at the little phoenix provocatively, and then glanced at Chu Wanning's body through the crowd. For some reason, looking at the only white figure in a room of dark blue and silver armor, he suddenly thought of the man who had fallen asleep on the cold metal last night. Shimei was right, Chu Wanning was really pathetic. But so what? The more pitiful he was, the happier Moran was. Just thinking about it made the smirk on his mouth became even more obvious. Life goes on. Chu Wanning never did tell him to go back to Red Lotus Pavilion. Moran's daily chores became scrubbing and washing dishes, feeding the chickens and ducks kept by Madame Wang, and weeding the herb garden. It was much more leisurely. In the blink of an eye, his 1-month confinement period was up. Today, Madame Wang had called Moran to Loyalty Hall. She stroked his head and asked him, "Aran, are your wounds healed?" Moran smiled, "I'm sorry for worrying you, Auntie. I'm all right now." "That's good. You should be more careful in the future. Don't make another big mistake and upset your Shizun, all right?" Moran was particularly good at playing the innocent victim. "I know, Auntie. One more thing." Madame Wang took out a letter from the small pearwood table. "It's been 1 year since you've been initiated and it's time for you to take on the responsibility of exorcising demons. Yesterday your uncle sent a letter by pigeon, specifically asking you to go down the mountain to complete this task once your punishment is finished. In the list of rules of Si Sheng Peak, 1 year after being initiated, disciples must go out through the world to dispel demons. The disciples' master will accompany them on their first exorcising mission. In addition, the disciple must also invite a fellow disciple to go with them in order to let the disciples support each other and understand why loyalty of the heart evident, life and death unchanging." Moran's eyes lit up. He took the request letter, tore it open and read it in a hurry, beaming with joy. Madame Wang though was worried. "Aran, your uncle wants you to gain a reputation on your first battle, so you are entrusted with an important task. It's a heavy responsibility. Although Elder Yuheng has a high level of cultivation, he is ruthless in a fight and he may not be able to protect you very well. You can't be too careless and underestimate your opponent." "No, no." Moran repeatedly waved his hands, grinning. "Don't worry, Auntie. I can take care of myself." After saying that, he was left to get ready and pack. This child, Madame Wang looked at him from behind, her gentle and beautiful face full of worry. How can he be so happy after receiving this kind of task? How could Moran not be happy? The exorcising mission that his uncle gave him occurred in Kaidi town and was commissioned by a local clerk named Chen. Regardless of what kind of ghosts there were, the key thing was what happened in his previous life. It was in Kaidi town where he was bewitched by demons, lost his mind, and forcibly kissed Shimei under their illusion. It was also one of the few times that Moran had been so close to being intimate with him. Moreover, because he was bewitched, Shimei couldn't fault him with this transgression and has no choice but to forgive me. Moran's eyes were curved into crescents. Even if he had to do this assignment with Chu Wanning, he didn't mind. Shizun can take care of the demons, and when he was by his own, he would take advantage of this perfect opportunity. After he had invited Shimei to join him in his mission, he reported to his Shizun, and the three of them rushed to Kaidi town. This was a town full of flowers. Flower fields stretched for dozens of miles outside the residential area, which caused butterflies of all colors to fly all over the town, and thus the name Kaidi. *T/N Kaidi translates to bright color and butterfly. It was nighttime when the three arrived. At the entrance of the village, drums and music sounded, and a line of musicians dressed in big red clothes blew suana horns and walked out from an alley. Shimei asked curiously, "Is this a wedding? Why is it being done at night?" Chu Wanning said, "It's a ghost marriage." A ghost marriage, also known as yin marriage, was a post-death marriage for unmarried men and women who have died. This custom wasn't prominent in poorer regions, but Kaidi town was very wealthy, so it was commonplace to find spouses for boys and girls who have never been married before they died. The procession of the ghost marriage was incredibly large, divided into two rows, one is carrying real silk and satin, and the other carrying paper money. Like this, surrounded by a red and white 8-person sedan chair and the glow of the golden lamp, they filed out of the village. Mo Ran pulled on his horse's reins, moving off to the side and letting the ghost marriage procession pass first. When the sedan chair approached, he noticed that it wasn't a living person sitting inside, but a ghost bride made with paper mache. The ghost bride was covered in cream and powder. Her lips were painted bright red, her pale face prominent because of the 2 dots of blush on her cheeks. Her smile was extremely sullen. "What a dumb tradition. They're just burning money away," Mo Ran muttered under his breath. Chu Wanning said, "The people of Kaidi town are very superstitious and believe that there should not be a solitary grave at home, as lonely graves attracts lonely soul and stray spirits which will bring misfortune to the family." "Does that really happen?" "The townspeople think so." "Well, yeah. Kaidi town has been here for hundreds of years. If you told them that the evil they believed in doesn't really exist, they probably wouldn't be able to accept it." Shimei whispered, "Where's the ghost marriage procession going?" Chu Wanning explained, "When we came just now, we passed through an earthen temple. The temple was not dedicated to any gods or Buddhas. The signboard has the word 11 on its star. The table was piled high with red satin, and they all had a similar message of good fortune from heaven or good fortune under the spring written on them. I think that's where they're going." *T/N pronounced 11, means double happiness, a symbol of good luck, especially for marriages. "I also noticed that temple." Shimei pondered, "Shizun, is it the master of ceremonies deity that's enshrined there?" "Very good. The master of ceremonies deity is what people imagine to be what a deity that oversee marriage should look like. People believe that to marry the deceased soul, they also need 3 matchmakers and the 6 kinds of bridal gifts and the exchange of wedding invitations. They also need to have a master of ceremonies as a witness to recognize 2 dead people as married. And because of the customs of a ghost marriage, Kaidi town naturally built a golden statue for the master of ceremonies deity for the town outside the cemetery in front of the burial site. Before the participants can be bound together through the ghost marriage, they must carry the ghost bride to the temple first to worship." Mo Ran had rarely seen such a ridiculous scene, watching with great interest. Chu Wanning, however, only looked at it coldly for a moment. He then turned his horse's head, and said, "Let's go and take a look at the household who have requested this mission. Cultivation masters, thanks heavens you are here. I am in a really difficult situation. If no one cares about what's happening, I don't even want to live anymore." The person who commissioned Si Shengpik to exorcise the ghosts was the richest merchant in town, Chen Yuanwei. The Chen family was in the incense powder business. There were 4 sons and 1 daughter in the family. After the eldest son got married, his wife didn't like the noise at home, so the 2 of them thought about moving out and establishing their own business. The Chen's family was rich and powerful, so they bought a large piece of land in a secluded part of the northern mountain with a natural hot spring pool, which guests could especially enjoy. However, on the first day of excavation, Some shovels broke ground and hit a hard object. The eldest daughter-in-law leaned over to take a look, and immediately fainted. Apparently, they had dug up a new coffin covered with red lacquer. Kaidi town has a mass burial ground. All the death of the town residents are being buried there, but this solitary coffin inexplicably appeared on the northern mountain. There was no grave or monument, and the wood of the coffin was colored blood red. They didn't dare dig any more and quickly put the soil back, but it was too late. Ever since that day, strange things have happened to the Chen family. First was my daughter-in-law. Chen Yuanwei cried. She was so scared that it affected her baby and caused a miscarriage. Later, it was my eldest son. He went to the mountains to collect medicine for his wife, but his feet slipped. He stumbled and fell to the bottom of the mountain. He wasn't breathing by the time we find help. Ah! He sighed, choked up and couldn't speak anymore, just waving his hand instead. Madame Chen also took out a handkerchief and wiped her tears. My husband is right. A few months after that, our sons had accidents one by one, either they had gone missing or losing their lives. Out of 4 sons, 3 are gone. Chu Wanning frowned, his gaze sweeping past Chen Yuanwei and his wife, then fell on the pale-faced youngest son. He looked about the same age as Mo Ran, 15 or 16 years old, good-looking, but fear made his face a little distorted. Shi Mei asked, "Could you please tell me how your other children went missing?" "Oh, the second eldest was on his way to find his brother, and was bitten by a snake. The snake was an ordinary grass snake and isn't venomous. No one thought twice about it at that time, but within a few days, he suddenly collapsed while eating, and then, ah, my child." Shi Mei sighed and continued to ask, "Then, did the body show signs of poisoning?" "Ah, where would the poison come from? Our family must be cursed. The elder sons are gone, and the next one is the youngest." "The next one is the youngest." Chu Wanning frowned. His eyes struck Madame Chen like lightning, and he asked, "How do you know that the youngest will be the next one? Why not yourself? Is this spirit only killing men?" The youngest son of the Chen family was hunched over, his legs were trembling, and his eyes were swollen like peaches. When he opened his mouth, his voice was shrill and distorted. "It's me. It's me. I know it. The person in the red coffin is here. He's here. Esteemed cultivator, please help me. Esteemed cultivator, help me." As soon as he expressed his emotions, he began to lose control, and he rushed over to hold Chu Wanning's thigh. Chu Wanning, who didn't like contact with strangers, immediately avoided it and raised her head to stare at Chen Yuanwei and his wife. "What's going on?" The couple looked at each other and said with a quivering voice, "There is a place in this house, we dare not go again, the esteemed cultivator will know when he sees it. It's truly evil, it's really dash." Chu Wanning interrupted, "Where?" The couple hesitated for a while, stretched out their hands, and shakingly pointed to the family shrine where the ancestors were enshrined. "It's there." Chu Wanning took the lead and went over, followed by Mo Ran and Shi Mei, with the Chen family following far behind. Pushing open the door, the interior resembled a joss house where some large families would offer sacrifices to gods and ancestors. There were several rows of spiritual sigils densely arranged, with pale, tall candles burning on both sides. All the tablets in the room were engraved, painted in yellow, with the names of the deceased and their position in the family. These spirit tablets are very well written, carved with the name of the deceased and their ancestry. However, the name in the spirit table at the middle was not carved. Rather, the words were written in brilliant red saying, "The spirit of Chen Yanji. Master Yang. Chen Sunchi." Perhaps the Chen family member hiding behind Chu Wanning was lucky, as when the other looked at the ancestral hall where the white silk was flying timidly, they saw the words painted in blood on the tablet again, and suddenly collapsed. Madame Chen howled, crying. Her youngest son's face became even paler, resembling the color of a corpse. Looking closely, the words in this memorial tablet was firstly, written improperly. Secondly, the characters were crooked and twisted, resembling a ghost symbol written by someone when they are half asleep, making the scribbles almost unrecognizable. Shimei turned his head and asked, "Who is Chen Yanji?" The youngest son of the Chen family was crying behind him, shaking and saying, "That's me." Chen Yuanwei cried and said, "Esteemed cultivator, it's like this. When my eldest son went there, we have discovered an extra spirit tablet in the ancestral hall. What's written in it was actually the name of a living person in our family. As soon as the name appeared, that person would suffer a misfortune within 7 days. When my second youngest son's name appeared on a tablet, I shut him in the house and covered the door with incense ashes. I asked priests and monks to try and cast protective spells on it. I tried everything. But on the 7th day, he was still dead, for no reason, just like that. The more he talked, the more scared and hysterical he became. He knelt down with a thump. I, Chen Yuanwei, have never done anything in my life that would hurt the heavens. Why did the gods treat me like this? Why?" Shimei looked on sadly, and hurriedly went to comfort the crying old man, while raising his head and softly shouted, "Shizun, look at this." Chu Wanning didn't turn around. He was still looking at the spirit tablet with great interest, as if a flower could bloom on it. Suddenly, Chu Wanning asked, "Master Yang, Chen Sunchi, is that you, Madam Chen?" End chapter. Dumb Husky and his white cat Shizun. Chapter 11. This venerable one is gonna smooch, rejoice. Yes, it's me. Madam Chen sobbed, "But I didn't write this spiritual tablet. How could I curse my own child? You wouldn't have written it while you were awake, but not necessarily while you were asleep," Chu Wanning said. He raised his hand, picked up the spirit tablet, spiritual energy pouring out of his palm. Suddenly, a distant and piercing scream erupted from the spirit tablet, followed by a stream of blood gurgling out of it. The sharp gleam in Chu Wanning's eyes was bitterly cold, and he harshly said, "The arrogance of this creature, it dares to make trouble." Because of the great spiritual power in his palm, the writing on the tablet was forced to retreat little by little amid the screams, becoming fainter until it finally disappeared completely. Chu Wanning's slender and cold white fingers clenched and the whole tablet shattered. The Chen family looked stunned from behind him. Not just the Chen family, even Shimei was stunned. He couldn't help sighing, "That's amazing." Mo Ran also couldn't help but sigh inside, he really was so powerful. Chu Wanning turned his handsome and calm face sideways. There was no expression on his face, only a few spots of blood splashed on the side of his cheek. He raised his hand and carefully examined the blood stains remaining on his fingertips. He said to the Chen family, "All of you will stay in the courtyard today. Don't go anywhere." At this point, none of them dared disobey and they quickly agreed, "Yes. Yes. Esteemed cultivator. Whatever you say." Chu Wanning strode out of the ancestral hall unconcerned. He simply wiped away the blood on his face. He gestured at Madam Chen, "Especially you, don't fall asleep. To keep that thing out of your body, even if you get tired, you need to stay awake." "Yes, yes, yes." Madam Chen replied repeatedly. With tears in her tears, she asked in disbelief, "Esteemed cultivator, my son, will he be all right?" "He's fine for now." Madam Chen was startled, "For now? Not for always? Then, how can I save my son's life?" Chu Wanning said, "We need to catch the malevolent spirit." Madam Chen was very anxious and couldn't help but be a little rude. She couldn't care less about being polite and asked urgently, "When does the esteemed cultivator plan to catch it?" "Immediately," Chu Wanning said. He then glanced at the Chen family and asked, "Who knows where the red coffin was dug? Come and lead the way." The eldest son's daughter-in-law was named Yao. Even though she was a woman, she was tall and looked somewhat good-looking. Although her face was filled with fear, she was calmer than the others. She spoke up, "My late husband and I picked out the land. I know the location. I'll lead you there." The three of them followed Chen Yao all the way to the northern mountain and soon arrived at the land the Chen family had bought. The place was cordoned off so there is no one around. The dark hills were overgrown with trees, not a single sound of insects or birds singing. Climbing up the mountainside, the view widened over the scene. Chen Yao said, "Esteemed cultivators, it is here." The place where the red coffin was dug out had a tombstone stuck over it. Mo Ran laughed, "What's this broken stone supposed to be used for? It looks like an amateur put it there. Move it." Chen Yao was a little flustered. The monk in the town said that the evil creature is being suppressed by it and making it unable to get out. Mo Ran chuckled, "He must be really capable." Chen Yao said, "All right, move it." Chu Wanning remarked icily, "No need." After he said that, he raised his hand, and golden light glowed from his fingertips. Tianwen listened to his command and appeared in his palm. As soon as he flicked the willow vine, the headstone instantly shattered into pieces. Chu Wanning walked over expressionlessly. He stood on the pile of debris, raised his palm again, and said in a deep voice, "What are you doing hiding in there? Get up." There was a strange noise underneath the earth, and suddenly, a 12-foot-high thick wooden coffin broke out of the ground. The sand and mud rained down and dust flew everywhere. Shi Mei exclaimed in surprise, "This coffin is surrounded by such evil energy." Chu Wanning said, "Stand back." After that, Tianwen slashed across the red coffin with a backhand draw. Golden sparks shot in all directions. After a few moments of silence, the coffin lid exploded with a bang. The billowing smoke dispersed and the thing inside it was revealed. Lying in the coffin was a naked man with a straight nose and a handsome face. If it weren't for his pale skin, he would look like he was simply sleeping. Mo Ran's eyes flicked down to what was under the man's waist, covering his eyes, and said, "Oh, don't wear skimpy pants, stinky rascal." Shi Mei. Chu Wanning. Chen Yao cried out, "Husband." She moved forward to rush towards the coffin. Chu Wanning stretched out his hand to stop her. He raised an eyebrow and asked, "This is your husband?" "Yes. It's my husband." Chen Yao was devastated. Why would he be here? He was already buried in the ancestral grave. He was also wearing much nicer funeral clothes. How could he? Halfway through speaking, the woman began to weep, pounding her chest. How could this happen? How tragic, so awful. Husband. Husband. Shi Mei sighed, "Madam Chen, please keep it together." Chu Wanning and Mo Ran didn't pay attention to the crying woman. Chu Wanning was not good at comforting people, while Mo Ran was totally merciless. They stared at the body in the coffin. Since Mo Ran had lived through this in a previous life, nothing unfolding was a surprise to him, but he still needed to put on an appearance, so he touched his chin thoughtfully. "Shizun, something's wrong with the corpse." Chu Wanning, "I know." What he had said was exactly what Chu Wanning had said during this conversation in his previous life. In this life, he wanted to use it to shock Chu Wanning. He did well, and yet he only threw out a simple "I know." Shouldn't a Shizun encourage his disciple to speak his mind and give him praise and reward? Mo Ran pretended that he hadn't heard him say "I know," and continued, "This corpse has no signs of decay. It's been more than half a month since the accident. Based on the current climate, it should have festered and rotted. A layer of fluids should have built up in the coffin. That's the first strange thing." Chu Wanning gave him a cold glare with a look as if saying, "Are you done fooling around?" Secondly, Mo Ran was unmoved, continuing to recite Chu Wanning's words from the previous life to solve the puzzle. Before the coffin was opened, the evil energy around the red coffin was dense, but after it was opened, it dissipated. And there's a minimal evil aura around the corpse, which is also very abnormal. Chu Wanning. Thirdly, did you find that from the moment the coffin was opened, there was a sweet smell in the air? The scent was so delicate, if you don't pay attention, you wouldn't notice it at all. When Mo Ran pointed it out, Shi Mei and Chen Yao realized that there really was a faint sweetness in the air. Shi Mei, indeed. Chen Yao's face changed when she smelled it, this scent. Shi Mei, Madam Chen, what's the matter? Chen Yao's scared voice changed, this scent is my mother-in-law's 100 butterfly fragrance powder. No one spoke for a while. The prophetic sign in the ancestral hall that read Master Yang, Chen Sunchi seemed to have appeared in front of them again. Shi Mei asked. Could Madam Chen really have done this? Mo Ran, it doesn't look like that. Chu Wanning, no. The two spoke almost at the same time and glanced at each other after speaking. Chu Wanning's face didn't waver, you continue. Mo Ran said nonchalantly, as far as I know, the Chen family made a fortune and relied on the old lady's 100 butterfly fragrance powder. Although the powder's formula is a secret, the finished product isn't difficult to get. 5 or 6 out of 10 girls in Kaidi town use this fragrance. Not only that, but we investigated before we came here. Young Master Chen himself seemed to like his mother's butterfly fragrance powder very much, and he often mixes it in his bath water, so it's not strange that he has the smell on his body. The strange thing is, he said, turning his head again to the naked man in the coffin. This person has been dead for half a month, and this fragrance smells like it was just recently applied. Am I right, Shizun? Chu Wanning. Just praise me if I'm right. Chu Wanning, Mo Ran laughed, what a waste of words. He didn't have a chance to laugh again. Suddenly, his robe flew to the side, Chu Wanning pulled him back a few feet, the golden light of Tianwen in his hand was shining, dancing like flames. Watch out. The smell of the butterfly fragrance powder in the air suddenly grew stronger. As the scent drifted away, a white mist appeared between the grass and trees, which began to diffuse at an alarming speed. Instantly, it turned the entire mountainside into a sea of mist, and all of a sudden, he couldn't even see the hand in front of his face. Mo Ran's heart lurched. An illusionary world appeared. Ah! In the thick fog, the first thing that rang out was Chen Yao's screams, "Esteemed cultivator, help!" Before she finished the last word, everything went silent. Chu Wanning's fingertips lit up with a blue gleam, and he slapped a tracking spell onto Mo Ran's forehead. Be careful, I'll check it out. After he spoke, he followed the voice and quickly disappeared into the thick fog. Mo Ran touched his forehead and chuckled in a low voice, well, even the position of the spell is exactly the same as in my previous life. Chu Wanning, you really haven't changed a bit. The fog came quickly and dispersed just as fast. It didn't take long for the fog to disappear without a trace. However, the scene in front of him was even more surprising than the fog. Mo Ran was really shocked, at least he was in his last life. After the fog cleared, the originally desolate and overgrown mountainside had disappeared. Instead, there was a vast and elegant garden, pavilions, waterfalls, curved corridors, rocky gardens, and jade trees, and pebble paths as far as the eye could see. Mo Ran took a look at the surroundings and immediately wanted to roll around in joy. This rogue hooligan spent all day thinking about this illusion. In his previous life, they were similarly lost in it. First, Mo Ran run into Shi Mei, and under the compulsion of the illusion, he kissed the other for the first and only time in his life. It's a pity that Shi Mei was terribly frightened when it happened. He let go of Mo Ran, turned, and ran away. He wasn't given the chance to take a second bite of the swan before it was taken off his plate, which was really unfortunate. After the illusion was broken, Shi Mei never brought it up. The kiss in the illusion was treated as if it had never happened, and no one mentioned it again. Sometimes when he dreamt at night, Mo Ran wondered if he was obsessing too deeply that he just imagined the whole thing. But whether he imagined it or not, Mo Ran licked his lips. He thought this time he definitely wouldn't let Shimei run away from him that easy. One kiss wasn't enough. End chapter. Dumb Husky and his white cat Shizun. Chapter 12. This venerable one kissed the wrong person. WTF. After walking in the illusion world for a long time, he couldn't find his bearings at all. However, the smell of butterfly fragrance powder in the air was getting stronger and stronger. After a long time, this smell will stimulate emotions, expand the senses, and make people do a lot of unthinkable things. Mo Ran gradually began to feel restless. It felt like flames were dancing in his stomach, slowly boiling his blood. The spring, he needed to find the spring water. Where was it? He knew that there was a living spring in this illusion. In his previous life, he walked to the spring with a dry throat and extreme headache. He had no choice but to drink several mouthfuls with his hands. He thought that death by poison was better than death by dehydration. And just after drinking the spring water, his consciousness got more and more blurred, and, in his drowsiness, Shimei came to find him. Shimei was practicing medicinal cultivation and he immediately flushed the toxins out of him. At that time, he was so dizzy that he was completely bewitched by the poison, so he kissed Shimei's lips with vigor. The former emperor of the human realm was eager to relieve the illusion's dream, as he wandered around the illusion for a while. He finally heard the sound of the tinkling of spring water. He was overjoyed, rushed over and immediately drank from it. Sure enough, the restlessness caused by the fragrance became more intense under the influence of the spring water. He uncontrollably wanted to plunge into the depths of the spring water, unknowing that he had already submerged half of his body. Just when Mo Ran's consciousness was about to fade away and just like in his previous life, a hand suddenly pulled him up. The water splashed in all directions, air poured into his nose. Mo Ran gasped and opened his watery eyelashes to see the figure in front of him. The figure gradually became more clear, accompanied by an almost annoyed voice. "You dare to drink the water here? Do you want to die?" Mo Ran shook off the water droplets like a dog. He breathed a sigh of relief. "Shimei. Stop talking, take the cure for it." A dark purple pill was pressed against his lips. Mo Ran opened his mouth and obediently took the medicine. His eyes were still fixated on Shimei's stunning face. Suddenly, just like in his previous life, the restlessness growing in his heart made him unable to resist. Besides, Mo Ran was not a modest man to begin with, so he grabbed Shimei's wrist, and before the other party could react, he quickly kissed him. In an instant, sparks flew and his mind went blank. He was a flirt who caused lots of trouble, but fierceness between the sheets does not require lip contact for extra warmth. So, he may have had lots of physical interaction but he actually have very little kissing experience. Shimei didn't expect this kind of attack at all. He was frozen in place. It wasn't until Mo Ran's tongue poked in that he finally reacted and began to struggle against him. "What are you doing?" "Humph." He only got half his sentence out before he was brutally cut off by the others covering his lips again. Mo Ran kissed more intensely than in his previous life. The two rolled down together by the spring water. Shimei was pressed firmly underneath Mo Ran. Mo Ran kissed his wet and slightly cool lips, and the memory of the same amazing touch was the same, and his cheek, his ear. "Don't move." When he opened his mouth, the hoarseness in his voice took him by surprise. It was done. How did the effects of the spring feel more intense now than in his previous life? According to the events in his previous life, he didn't have any time to linger with Shimei. He didn't manage to kiss him for a few more times as the then young Mo Ran was condemned by his conscience. When he loosened his hand, Shimei got up and effortlessly ran out. But because of his wickedness and shameless nature, instead of being condemned by his conscience this time, he was driven by his desire and immediately pressed the person onto the shore and kissed him fervently. Shimei angrily struggled underneath him, but he was wicked and ignored the other's protest. All his senses could focus on was that gorgeous face and those seductive, moist, moving lips. As the fire burned in his belly, Mo-Ran listened to his heart, kissing more and more fiercely. He pried the other's teeth, his tongue diving straight in, holding onto the sweetness in his mouth. His heart was beating like a drum. In the confusion, he had already torn off Shimei's complicated outer robe. He pulled off the waistband, hands slipping underneath, touching the smooth and firm skin. The person under him tried to struggle, but Mo-Ran slammed him back down. He nibbled on the rim of Shimei's ear and whispered, "Be good, we can both enjoy it." Mo-Wee-you. Hey, how come you're all angry and shouting at me like that? This is a good thing. Mo-Ran smiled and licked his earlobe. His hands didn't wait around and went straight to his waist. That little bastard Mo-Ran, the 16-year-old hooligan back then, was no better than the 32-year-old hooligan now. This person's cheekiness was growing day by day. Shimei's body tensed, and Mo-Ran could feel the slight trembling of his body. Really, he looked so slender, and his hand felt well built, with sharp lines. He couldn't help himself. He couldn't help but pull at the other man's clothes. Shimei finally couldn't bear it and broke free. Mo-Wee-you. You're asking to die. With a bang, a burst of powerful spiritual energy slammed him away. That spiritual power was fierce and domineering. Mo-Ran was caught off guard. He was flipped off and hit the rocks by the spring, almost spitting up a mouthful of blood. Shimei grabbed the messy pile of his clothes and stood up furiously, with crazy golden spiritual currents flowing from his palms, sparks crackling. An angry red light reflected in his eyes. Mo-Ran's head was spinning. He vaguely felt that something was wrong. "Tianwen, come forth." With a shout of rage, a golden willow vine swung out of Shimei's palm, Tianwen responding to his summon. The whole willow vine was dazzling, and, from time to time, a blazing fire ignited, bursting out in a golden light, willow leaves flying. Mo-Ran was dumbfounded. Since when can Shimei summon Tianwen? However, the thought had only appeared in his mind for a brief moment before Tianwen ripped open the sky and smacked down over his head. The willow vine was unrelenting, and the bastard first emperor of the cultivation world was beaten bloody. He thought that people like Rongju who suffered because of Mo-Ran would applaud and shout, "Well played. Great. One more blow. Avenge us. Do a good deed." Mo-Ran finally came to his senses through the blistering storm of unrelenting, tyrannical frenzied hits. Shimei was so gentle, how could he beat someone like this? The technique of the willow vine slashes was so skillful that it couldn't be anyone else but Chu Wanning. Chu Wanning's movements eased up, then he stopped to take a breath. He rubbed his wrists and was about to slash the vine again. Abruptly, Mo-Ran leaned against the rock, coughing up a large mouthful of blood. "Don't move. You'll die otherwise." Mo-Ran coughed up several mouthfuls of blood, and his heart was bleak. This was definitely one of the most colorful of his bad deeds. Who would have known that the person who showed up was actually Chu Wanning? And he didn't know why, but Chu Wanning's face was just like Shimei's. Even his voice sounded exactly the same as Shimei's. He wiped the mottled blood from the corner of his mouth, gasped, and looked up. It may be because he had been beaten by a divine weapon, or it may have been because the medicine that Chu Wanning gave him just now worked. When he raised his head this time, the person in front of him was no longer Shimei. Chu Wanning had a dreary face, standing fiercely under the tree. He was furious, his eyes were like lightning, and he was staring angrily at Mo-Ran. His fierce and stern appearance was truly appalling. And yet, Mo-Ran stared at him for a few seconds, and found himself, shamelessly hard. Chu Wanning has always been meticulous, but now the cumbersome ascetic white robe was unusually messy, only relying on his slender white hands to hold it tightly so it wouldn't slip off his shoulders. His lips were red and slightly swollen by the kiss, and there were scattered hickeys on the side of his neck. Although he has a vicious countenance, he looks incredibly exciting like this. In his past life, those memories of Chu Wanning, those memories of madness, blood, hatred, wantonness, conquest, and pleasure, all reappeared. Those memories that Mo Ran didn't want to think about all filled the air with the blood and the butterfly fragrance powder. He was instantly shocked and unable to suppress them. Like a tidal wave, it rushed into his heart. He couldn't face Chu Wanning like this. Even if he hated him, really hated him, and couldn't wait to chop him into stuffing and wrap him in wonton dough and cook him, Mo Ran still had to admit. In his previous life, amongst several of his own most exciting love affairs, the most blood-curdling, scalp-tingling orgasms he had were obtained because of Chu Wanning. It's one thing to hate him. But for a man, especially a particularly shameless and beastly man like Mo Ran, the body's instinctive reaction was a whole different matter. Chu Wanning took a sigh of relief. It seemed that he had been really angry, and the hand holding Tianwen was trembling. "Are you awake?" Mo Ran swallowed a mouthful of blood froth that welled up. "Yes, Shizun." Chu Wanning didn't seem satisfied with his beating yet, but he knew that there was an evil spell in this illusion, and Mo Ran couldn't be blamed for this. He hesitated for a while, and finally took Tianwen away. "What happened today?" Before he finished speaking, Mo Ran rushed to say, "What happened today? Heavens no, you know and I know. I'll never speak of it. If I did speak of it, let me be struck by thunder and lightning." Chu Wanning was silent for a while and sneered, "I have heard your promise more than 100 times, and not once has it meant anything. It's definitely true this time." The body may react to something stimulating, but wanting to fuck Chu Wanning was like eating stinky tofu. In Mo Ran's eyes, it wasn't even an option on the table. The stinky tofu could be eaten in a corner where no one else was so no one would notice the smell. Wanting to sleep with Chu Wanning was the same thing. Mo Ran had always hated Chu Wanning. How could he tell others that he really hated someone while secretly wanting to fuck them? What was this if not some illness? There were also those rotten things Chu Wanning did in his previous life. He really didn't want to mention it again, give him a break. This illusion has a strong disorienting effect, and the people you meet in it will turn into what you most want to see in your mind. Chu Wanning said while walking side by side with Mo Ran. "You have to stay calm so that you won't be deceived by the illusion." "Oh. Huh. Wait. A sudden thought jolted in Mo Ran's mind. If this were the case, then in his last life in the illusionary realm, when he saw Shimei, it wasn't necessarily Shimei? It's possible to say that it was also. He glanced at Chu Wanning, who was walking next to him, and couldn't help the chill down his spine. Impossible. If it was Chu Wanning he had kissed in his past life, he never would have avoided being beaten. A slap at the very least. It definitely wasn't Chu Wanning. It definitely wasn't him. While Mo Ran was internally screaming, Chu Wanning suddenly stopped and pulled Mo Ran behind him. "Quiet. What's wrong? There's movement ahead." With how different the development of things was compared to his previous life, Mo Ran had no idea what would happen next. As soon as he heard Chu Wanning say this, he immediately asked, "Could it be Shimei?" Chu Wanning frowned. "In this illusion, you must never imagine who the person you see is before you can actually see them. If you can't help but think about it, what you see in a while will become that person's appearance. Get rid of distracting thoughts." Mo Ran worked hard for a while and found that he couldn't do it. Chu Wanning glanced at him. At some point a dagger formed by spiritual energy condensed in his hand and stabbed down towards Mo Ran's arm. "Ahh. Don't scream." Chu Wanning had expected this, and his other hand directly covered Mo Ran's lips. His fingertips were condensed with golden light, and Mo Ran suddenly couldn't make any noise. "Does it hurt?" Bullshit. Stab yourself to see if it hurts. Moran nodded pitifully with tears in his eyes. It's fine if it hurts. Don't think about anything but the pain. Stay behind me. Let's go over and see. Moran internally cursed Chu Wanning the entire way, following him quietly along the winding path. Unexpectedly, the closer they got to that place, the more they could hear the countless human voices, which seemed extraordinarily weird as this was an empty place. After rounding a long stretch of high wall, the two finally came to the place where the sound was coming from. There was a red and green building, with brilliant lights and swaying red veils. More than 100 banquet tables were set up in the bustling courtyard. There were all kinds of fish, meat, and vegetables dishes on the tables. In the hall with the door spread wide open, a big and bright red character for double happiness stood out. It looked like a lively wedding banquet was being held here. Shizun, Moran whispered. Look at those people drinking the wedding wine, they all have no faces. End chapter.